Hello, review. I'm very excited to get started. Would I be able to share some slides?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. So I'll do that in a second. To give all of you some context, I first met Pepe when I was looking at how to level up in terms of my own facilitation skills. And the main idea being, how do you get quality conversations? As a coach, I care a lot about quality conversations. And as we were discussing, what might be a space for collaboration, there's something very striking that came out about common language across boundaries. A lot of you will be working with international companies or companies that have aspirations to expand. And some of you touched on some excellent points. Verinder, you talked about the urgency to adapt to emerging technologies. It's inevitable, right? How do we do that? So we touched upon all of these themes, and I was also very lucky to attend a certification event with Pepe where we talked about this. And one of the things that really struck me was the degree of clarity that you can create. It was an absolute revelation for me, even though I knew that Pepe has literally written the show you the literal book on facilitation, right? So I should have known to expect something quite transformative. And so as our conversations have progressed, I think we both share a deep passion to be able to bring this to more people and to be able to create these conversations. And Pepe has got a very unique stance on all of this that I'm still learning from, and I'm really enjoying growing with. So with that, let's get into the topic. One of the things that all of you have, I imagine, are here for is that we're not in a situation in today's world where we have any lack of access to information. Maybe you can visualize those Formula One teams, right? The car might be going around the track, but there's a team of 9 people who will be sitting in front of a dashboard full of data, tweaking every single detail. And though a lot of companies don't run like a Formula One team, everyone has the internet, everyone has access to AI, and everyone wants to create a good competitive business edge. So the question of how to do that is now more than ever relevant, because we're no longer looking at how can we create good tech. We're looking at how can we leverage it to have valuable, meaningful information. And maybe some of you can let me know, is this something that you've experienced as well, this tension in your workspaces? Please feel free to use the chat or to get on the mic.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm hearing someone, but I can't see who you are. So please feel free to jump in.
Absolutely, Vandana, there's a tsunami of data.
Okay.
What do we make use of the data is the key.
Okay, absolutely. And I'm glad some of you are also on the same wavelength. Be really keen to get into what specific challenges that you see as we go through this. And we'll explore together then what the solutions are. I'm trying to move the slide and I cannot because the meeting box has popped up. I'm just gonna, okay, perfect. Oops.
Are you on a Mac?
I'm on a Mac, but for some reason it's not allowing me to. I'm just gonna put it down and back up again. Okay.
Yeah, that's the one.
Okay, all good.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So some of the things that we'll be aiming to share with you today is, one is how we make sense. It's essentially a new emerging skill when we talk about AI and we talk about how people are part of the equation and how people must add value in the era of AI. Sense making is one of those new emerging skills, the ability to create a common language. And facilitation has an enormous amount of components that can really help to hone that, not just for individuals, but also for teams, which means that it's scalable, an absolutely critical aspect of business growth and value. So shared understanding and how that can translate into action. We'll be looking at some of the practical tools as well. And what role, if you're looking to flex or you're looking to build those skills, what is it that is required of you precisely? So we'll have a short presentation. I would invite you, because there's not too many of us, to feel free to jump in to put your comments in the chat. I'm not quite sure how to check that just yet, but we'll figure it out. And please take some notes and let us know what is resonating with you as we go along. Both of us are very keen to offer some value and some great insights. So please definitely feel free to get in there. So maybe just for context setting, if everyone can put in the chat what specific things you are hoping to get out of today, most specifically in the context of your current work, current challenges, and we'll try and have a look at the chat and debrief. I'll give you 1 minute. So I'm seeing some very interesting things in the chat box. Pepe, maybe you can tell me if any of these is resonating from the stuff that you hear in the other sessions like this that you've conducted across the world, if there's any patterns that are emerging. So Akshay is saying how to use effective data. And I love I love the use of the word effective there, right? Because it's not just a question of any data. You want the stuff that's actually going to make a difference.
I think
Wonderful,
what
Rudvi.
is really interesting is they're using data.
Yeah, please, Pepe.
How to create human-centric leadership. It's really interesting there. You know, the data is not very human-centric. So how do you make it human-centric and how to use it in leadership? Very interesting stuff. I look at these comments here and I have a feeling that you are all in the right place, which is a very good beginning.
How to analyze a mountain of data. It's what I'm seeing here from Siddharth. So I hear from you, Siddharth, that there can be a very overwhelming aspect to all of it when you're looking at the volume of data that is available. Yeah, 100% see that as well. Is this something that you've encountered, Pepe, people struggling with volume?
Yes, yes. We are talking about the volume. Yes, we're talking about how to make sense. Yes. And especially we're now talking about how to use the knowledge of all the people to analyze the data, not just doing it alone.
Yeah, I like that's very true. All of the people, 100% hear you there. Aha.
Yes.
So
yes, and we'll come to some samples, some tools.
Wonderful. And Shefali is also talking about decision making, right? Because ultimately you want to be able to use it in decision making. And that's also one of the very big edges that facilitation brings, right? It helps this whole decision making process. It transforms it into something that is maybe a lot more structured and phased than what we're used to doing. It's not just about getting together with an agenda in a meeting and making a decision. It's a process of decision making that includes some very specific steps so that you can achieve clarity. Would you say that's accurate?
Exactly.
Okay. Oh, Verinder, I like that. How to ensure accuracy of data from emotions to actions. Wonderful. Maybe we can dig into that as well a little bit when we're talking about the tools. Beautiful, wonderful contributions, very relevant. Thank you, everyone, for interacting. I also have good news. I figured out the technology, so we should be a bit more seamless from here on out. Okay. So if I throw this ball back to you, everyone in this room, what do we understand by data-driven? When we say data-driven organization, is there a specific definition for who is data-driven? What are they doing? How do we make sure that this term is not being used as a generic umbrella term?
I feel, Vandana, when decisions are not based on emotions, but there's some data to back it up, and the approach is very straightforward. It's practical. I think that is a data-driven.
Yeah, that's a wonderful insight, Shefali. So you have evidence that you can lean on. And I'm curious about the idea of emotions as well. That you know, more than one person has brought up you can be very emotional about a set of data, right? Sometimes you might be very invested in a decision. It doesn't work out because the data just doesn't support it, right? Has anyone experienced anything like that? The difficulty to transition or pivot, as we say?
So I have I was thinking about that. This is Aarti. I was thinking about this whole emotion and data. To me, a data-driven organization really is, data can be used to tell whichever story you want to tell, So a data-driven organization really presents the various scenarios with the data and not just the one point that they want to make and leverage that for decision making. I was also thinking that I don't think one can remove emotions totally because the meaning making is about emotions, right? So that was some of the things that I was thinking about.
Wonderful, Aarti. Thank you for that. Pepe, what do you think about that?
Yes, that is exactly right.
So we've got a definition on here on the slides for what a data-driven organization is, and I'm sure you would recognize in that either your own organization or some of your clients. But here is the lens that comes from Pepe's expertise and Grape People's sort of experience around the world on what behaviors would be observable for the data-driven organization. So having a look at this, feel free to jump in and let us know what you feel, where we're at. Do you deal with data-driven organizations? What challenges does this bring up, this criteria?
What do you mean by embedding data in workflows and culture, not just in reports?
Aha, excellent spot, Ranjan. A very good eye there. Pepe, do you wanna handle this one?
So I think this is actually following up and discussing and making sense of the data, and this is about doing it regularly and not just doing it, sending reports to each other, but this is about discussing the facts and the meaning of the data together. So this would be in the culture is that we have a team meeting and actually we discuss the data and what it means. And doing it regularly. Most of the companies they send just reports around, but nobody actually knows what is being done with the data. So this is more like having it as a part of the work. And I think the key thing here is the sense that is often lacking is the sense making and actually the making decisions. All right, I hope I'm helping.
Yeah, understood.
And Kumada, I see your hand is up. Would you want to jump in?
Hey, hi. Thank you. So the data challenges, that I have faced primarily is, either I would have collected more data, or sometimes, the primary data that I really wanted, I would have missed, right? And how do you organize this data that it can be fetched at the time that you want, right? So many a times, all of us would write in our own ways, right? So the consistency in how we capture this data so that we make sense of it, I think is a greater challenge that I have seen organization that face it.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that insight and for introducing the aspect of what data do you want to use when. And something that I've experienced personally when I did the certification with Grape People is I feel the process of opening up the conversation to the point where you're able to gather enough, and the process of being able to eliminate what your priorities are or stratify them at least helps to determine a lot of that. It's not something that we're very used to. Certainly I was not very used to, because typically it might be something that you plan either alone or in a smaller team, but when it comes time to actually gather, like you're saying, then you find that there's gaps, and by then you've already done some investment, or you have to backtrack, so it gets very burdensome. So I think we should be able to address this aspect as we go forward. Rutvij, I see your hand is up.
Yes, thanks, Vandana. So, one more thing that, and I loved these four, especially the first point, essentially because I think being data-driven has become the thing for organizations to be, and hence every organization claims to be data-driven. Largely what I see happening is they already take decisions and use data or segments of the data to justify that decision. When ideally it should be the other way around, right? Where you get the data and the decision-making comes or emerges from the data that you've collated. So that is the transition that I feel is very important in order to actually consider an organization as being data-driven.
100%. You're hitting the nail on the head there, right? How do you make sure that data is shaping your decision-making and not being used as a prop wherever convenient? Arti, I see your hand is up as well.
Yeah, I suppose you were asking me. Yeah, so I found that that third point that Ramesh pointed out, Ranjan pointed out, very, very powerful. And I just realized that I don't do it. So this culture, this embedding, I just thought of two examples of what we're doing and what we're not doing. And I thought I will share that here. So one, we all do turnover, recruitment, all those kind of dashboards we all do. But in meetings, do we share that data and ask people what are the hypotheses, what is the meaning making that they're doing? Because that can actually help each of us figure out where we are coming from and help in that whole shared culture, team building, any of that. But I've never done that before. So just thanking you for that point made me, think of possibilities. The embedding data and workflows, it's probably futuristic, but I see huge possibilities. Like if you're just doing in a workflow, to me, in my my myopic view is really about if I'm giving a hike to somebody or a spot bonus to somebody and I'm doing it in a tool, if that data gives me other context about that person in one place, and helps me identify, am I coming from a biased space and so on. I may still do that, but I have that data available, so that's what I meant by workflow. Currently, it is there in a static mode in most organizations that are using data, but I think what you're talking about is in the flow of work, in the flow of decision making, if data is available, the power that's possible.
Understood. So ensuring that the data is available within the system in the first place. Pepe, from your experience, is there anything that do you feel like there are spaces where embedding data and workflows is something that is futuristic, or how is it happening in the spaces where it might already be happening?
All right. So you talking. I'm sorry. How is it? Can you repeat that one? What do you mean?
I'm sorry. I kind of put a I kind of did a whole load of information on you there.
Yeah.
So Arti talked about how embedding data in workflows might feel a bit futuristic in some circumstances, and I'm very curious to know if you feel that is the case.
Okay. So it is futuristic. Well, I don't know, because embedding data is, I think, the fashion. It is what all the companies are doing, and I'm not sure how it is. I think it's not being futuristic. It is happening everywhere today. And I think it is a problem everywhere is actually that we don't have the processes in place to deal with it. So we want to be futuristic, but we are actually not making sense of it. Am I?
Yeah, 100%.
Yes.
I follow you.
Yeah.
What do you think are the behaviors to make that transition? If it's something that you're not doing yet, how do you get there?
Well, let's look at some practices if we go forward. We actually our specialty is facilitation, getting the people involved, doing the sense-making process. So how about if we go a little bit forward, and then we at some point will talk about the tools.
Okay, wonderful. So as a key, as a quick wrap up before we do that, just putting some of the things here that you may already be identifying in your workspaces, and which should be triggers for you to consider how to make that shift. If you're seeing too much data, not enough insight, if you have teams that work in silos to the point that communication is not really happening, if decision making is so tedious that it never actually happens. Power struggles and data ownership, lack of emotional buy-in, which is interesting because so many of you have touched upon this emotional content, the emotional aspect of decision making. And if action is not actually translating into results, right? So all of these are not just the challenges, but also the triggers for you to really explore how to level out and get into a different space. Pepe, anything you'd like to add before we move forward?
Well, the most the common thing is actually, I think, it's not enough insight, and because there is no insight, there is no action. That's what I see the most. I see all of these. What was really interesting is the lack of emotional buy-in in the data, because I think many of the challenges the group was writing was about being emotional and kind of already having decided what people want. But how do you? Because without emotions, there is no drive. So actually, you have to make the cold data through the sense-making process. You have to make it emotional, and it's the other part of it. So I think that's the emotional part is an interesting side of it.
Okay, that's an excellent thing to latch onto. This is something I get very absorbed into. How much emotion is too much emotion? How to get comfortable with emotion, and a lot of the processes that you're going to be walking us through help with that, helps to neutralize a lot of that. Ramesh, before your hand is up, anything you want to jump in?
Two things. One is, before I ask you the question, I think your voice is breaking, so that's one feedback to you.
Right. Okay.
The question I had is, other than in these key challenges, I also realized the quality of data, right? So, we have sophisticated systems, processes, we do a lot of work and analytics, but then the quality of data, right, is a big challenge I've seen in many organizations. And as they rightly say, right, garbage in and garbage out. If your data is not accurate, if data is not quality, whatever decisions you're going to take is going to be influenced by that. So I think that's also a key challenge. Is it something only for me, or even others are facing this data quality issue?
Ramesh sir, I agree with you on the same page.
Absolutely, right. Soni? Okay.
Thanks, Ramesh. I'm going to try and speak a little bit more slowly, and hopefully that should help. If there are any issues with my voice, please let me know. I'll try and see what we can do. Pepe, back to you.
About facilitation and how to create shared understanding and drive action. All right, good. So can I have the next slide, please?
Here you go.
All right, so I'm about to tell you, actually, we train people to do organizational development. We are practitioners of organizational development. That is our background. And this is actually our business secret. It's not going to be a secret anymore, that I'm going to tell it to you. So we teach people, we give them a decision-making structure. I'll get into that soon. We used to train lots of group skills in organization. We started some 25 years ago. And we realized that people, they might know of brainstorming, but maybe some like cafe methods, table methods, you rotate people, but they actually don't know how to make a good decision-making process. So we gave them a three-stage process, and that we call CSA, and it's a decision model, and we put the best tools on each stage how to create a dialogue. So this is actually what we do. And I would like to give you a couple of examples of using the process, and then I would like to actually go into some concrete cases and tools. So can I have the next one anyway? So 2014, we had data. We had actually data. There was clearly our business was going. We train facilitation. We do facilitation workshops in companies. Most of our clients, by the way, they are companies that struggle with data and information. They are IT companies and banks, because for them, they are dealing with complexity. They're dealing with complexity, so they need group decision making. So people have a tendency to fight about solutions, which is in the middle of this picture. You see the solutions. So we had data, actually, that I'm from Finland. The capital is Helsinki, but in the small cities, we were creating lots of business. The revenue was coming from there. At the same time, we were actually getting lots of business from Central Europe and actually especially from Germany. And we were always at the office fighting that where do we want to expand the business? And every single time we had meetings, we started fighting about the solution. Everyone had different data. We had different data in our heads. So a colleague of mine, we are facilitators and we are people too, but we do actually decision-making process with others. So one of my colleagues asked that, clarify, let's talk about what do we really want. And now we started talking about actually that we want growth. We want to have a better business and have a business growth. So now that we have a clear goal, we clarify what we want, we started talking about solutions again. And first I said, I was the Germany guy, I said that let's go to Germany, this is the data. Then the other guy said, let's go to the small cities, we have so and so many customers. And then somebody said that hey, the topic here is growth, so where is the growth? And this was 2014. This was definitely all of the biggest growth. At that point was in China. And in Asia. The Asia is still growing. Europe is not doing very well. So we actually clarifying the goal opened new opportunities, not just as to focus on the same thing, but we went and started talking about the solutions. We had new solutions, and we decided that we are actually going to, based on the data, we decided that we're going to China. The action plan was that I moved to Asia, so at that point I moved to Shanghai. So this was our decision-making process. So this was the data. As we have a tendency that we see some data, we make a decision, but actually everybody sees different data. This is one of the key things. So the first thing is when looking at the data is you agree what is the goal, or even more often you look at the data and see what is the challenge we have here. Actually, you start from a problem from the data. It is simple, but actually most people don't do this. Can I have the next slide? And after this, each stage is actually is about creating ideas. What do we want? We started talking about the growth, about the quality, about life quality, about having good processes, having good products. And then we decided that it's the growth. We created ideas how to create what do we want. What are the solutions? We talked about Germany, the little cities. We started talking about Asia and talking about what is behind them, actually, about the data. So finally, we decided what to do, and we started thinking about what are the actions. So this is a simple people process. We typically, so we give people, we want people to have a structure. The people have a tendency of discuss things in a very unstructured way. One person talks about action, and second one talks about the problem, third one talks about solution. So this is that in order to discuss data, you actually have to have a good structure and a good way of creating ideas and choosing ideas. Let's have the next one. So actually, if you can do the simple CSA, you can, we did actually goal setting with solution and action.
Pepe,
You
I'm just
can
going
actually
to jump in here. Sorry, you're breaking up for a second. If you just repeat that from the beginning. Thank you.
I'm sorry, you wanted me to do what?
Can you please repeat?
Can you repeat?
Breaking up, yes.
Okay, I was breaking up. All right, thank you. Yes. All right, so this is, if you know how to do these 3 stages well in groups, you can focus the people on the goals, you can create a goal, you can have a strategy workshop. You have 3 stages. You create a vision, solution, action. You can do a change process. What is the key data we hear? That what are the changes that are happening? What is the solution action? You can do team development. What is the data we have about the team? What are the key issues we have in here? The challenges, what's the solution action? You can develop the processes. Actually, we use this a lot with collaboration with clients as well, and innovation. So we have data about the trends in the market. So what are the key trends that we should be focusing on? And then we make solutions and action. So I'm just saying that if you know how to work with the groups, how to do the 3 stages, how to get everyone involved, you are actually doing a good sense-making process. Can I have the next one, please? You can do, if you do know how to do this, you can have better even small meetings and make sense-making of the data. The next slide, please.
Pepe, before we move to the next one, Arti's just put in the chat box that people have different agendas, right? Sometimes even hidden agendas. So how does one truly identify the problem? Is that something you want to address now, or would you like to address it later?
We actually, there is a tool I'd like to talk about, how to find the true problem. Well, we could talk about it a little bit. Yes, so let's talk about it a little bit. How do you identify the problem? So there are, you should be careful asking a facilitator these questions, because the answers can be long, and I have actually 2 answers for that. So the first thing is about the people to how do you get them to open up? I work in a country where we are often introverts. So how do we get the people to talk about anything? Is that we call it me. We start with individual thinking. I go to a factory and I ask them, what's the problem? Nobody will say a word. But I ask them to, I give them a piece of paper and say that 2 minutes, write down the problems. And the group of engineers, with 2 minutes of time, they will actually come up with hundreds of problems suddenly. So I'm in trouble. How am I going to make sense out of these problems now? I work in China. The problem is that you don't criticize things in public. So first you need the bosses to actually allow it before we start talking about problems. And the second one is that we have to work in small groups. So you don't come and present the problems in a big group. First you discuss in a small group, and that gives you psychological safety. You talk to a colleague, and then after that you can talk about what is the problem. Then we go, this is we as small groups to create psychological safety. Finally, we talk about it together, maybe after all these stages. So then this is how you get the people involved. Then the other question is, I have the engineers talking about their problems, and I get 20 different problems in the factory, and what is the right problem? So there are tools. The most simple thing is that tool is discussing. You let the people have a good talk about the problems, especially in the small groups. Typically, the key problems arise naturally. And then, of course, we can have many problem tools to actually, my favorite ones is probably the current reality tree. It's about mapping the problems and finding the core problem, not the root cause, but actually the core problem. So there are tools for that as well, which help a lot also in data. When you have too much data, the first tool is always have a good talk about the data that makes sense out of it. So I can talk soon a lot about the sense making as well. But yes, with simple examples. Vandana, do you think this is? Are we okay?
I
So
think
the question:
so.
how does one truly? Yes, the first tool is to talk. If that is not enough, there are tools actually to go deeper.
And so if I'm hearing you correctly, Pepe, to also address Arti's question that she put out, the identifying the goal is not even the first step. There is a process to apply to even get to where you know what the goal is. And from a people aspect of it, there is the imperative to have a process to create psychological safety and bake it into the process early on as a starting point. And also acknowledge, take the listening position of, we don't know what we don't know. We might have data, we might have information, but to acknowledge that data and information at this stage might not be complete. So you don't move into what is the goal first, you move into how do we have the conversation first.
How do we have the conversation? Yes. This is how do you create the psychological safety? How do you make sure everyone is involved? Because you cannot create good goals if there is no psychological safety. Yes.
Wonderful, wonderful. And I love the quote that I've stolen that. I'm going to be using it. Everyone sees different data. I love that. I think it's so true, right? We all know this, even as we're saying it, but as you said, it kind of sparked something a bit more concrete for me, that this is how to approach it. We don't all know everything. We might be experts in our fields, but we still don't know everything. And that's very much the nature of modern business, isn't it?
It's really interesting that we look at the budgets in the company, and people see different aspects of the budget because they look at it from different angles. So yes, data is always different for everybody.
Wonderful.
And you need a sense-making process. Yes.
So if we do a quick round the room of where we're at, maybe you can insert in the chat where you think your organizations or your clients are at. Are we at a point, as a starting point, can we have a difficult conversation already, or do we have to get to it? Somewhat, Arti, thank you for that. Ramesh, thank you for that input. Shefali, thank you. So we're at the point of maybe we are there. Some components are there, but a lot of refining yet to do for us to be able to say that yes, we can do it really effectively. Wonderful. Everyone's saying 3 so far, Pepe.
Yes.
Okay. If you're ready, we'll move to the next.
That's a problem with data, right, Vandana? You always take the median.
Yes, it looks like that. So Pepe, are we ready to move into tools, do you think, or is there anything else we should be touching on?
Let's.
Okay.
Yes, let's talk about the tools. Tools you can use tomorrow. Yes. So I already talked about this, but I'll talk about it a little bit more. So the first challenge is if in the sense-making process, you're trying to make sense of the data. The first, now we're looking at the people side. I think even data problems are always people problems. So now if we look at how to get everyone involved, how to get everyone to talk, and how to make everyone, how to make involved and to participate. So I'll give you a sample of, I think this was a team leader was having meetings every Monday. And I think this is a company from my country called Nokia, not the mobile phone that was used to be very famous, but from Nokia Networks. The team leader began the Monday meetings. And in the Monday meetings, typically what she did was, first she was driving there tired after all these weekend activities. She was driving to work, thinking about what to say. There was 1 hour she was saying the things that she was thinking about. No one said a word. And after the meeting, everybody started, after the meeting, when they left the meeting room, everybody started talking a lot in small groups, but they never did that. There is clearly what she said was making some kind of a difference, but she never got the team and people to work in the room. So what she did was that we agreed with her that she's going to try to meet with us to create an agenda. So what she did was she asked people, what is it that we should talk about today? Now, discuss it with the person next to you. Third, write down on this flip chart paper, what are the topics we need to discuss today? So she created an agenda. This is also a clarifying. We talk about clarifying states, so it was a simple way of doing it. Solutions, she was just pointing, who wrote this? And can you explain a little bit? So the people came and started explaining the thinking of the question. And then she was asking the people, does anybody have an answer? And then they talked about the answers, the solutions, and agreed who's going to solve it. So In the end of the meeting, actually, the people had talked 95% of the time, and she was talking 5% of the time. So she had totally around with a simple tool the dynamics of the meeting. There is a big thunder here in Singapore. Can you hear it? Vandana, can you hear the thunder? There is music behind me to make my words more powerful.
Yeah, impact, right? No, I can't hear it. I think we're fine. Though I'm not in a position
right,
to.
so
I'm currently having a lot of construction noise on my side from Bangalore. So.
Oh, you have construction noise. I have this thunder, so I sometimes cannot hear my own voice, and it's really raining hard here in Singapore. Anyway,
we don't
so
hear
what I'm
any
telling
background
you,
noise.
as if
Sorry. We don't have any background noise
okay,
here. We
good.
don't hear.
All right. So anyway, going back to this is that to the sense-making process. For the sense-making, sometimes the key problem is you don't get the people talking. You don't get the people to think. You have data. We use this for many surveys, employee surveys, and different things. First, read on your own. We do this in first, read on your own and make your own opinion. What are the key challenges? We do this in strategy meetings, you know, that we think about the current state. We bring actually data from all over the company, and we start with individual thinking. What is happening here? You know, what are the key facts? And we discuss it in the small groups, because in small groups, people tend to be much more open and arguing a lot less. So this is the first tool for you, simple but very powerful, that will help you actually get the people involved in the sense-making process. Did I make any sense here?
Beautifully, I think. Maybe we can have some comments in the chat if anyone has anything that they would like us to address. I think one of the things I experienced with you when we had discussed this, you had mentioned that there is such a thing as a right number. Ideally, you'd want to have a small group of 3, right? To have this we aspect, because if you have anything more, then voices tend to get lost in the equation. And so that was very enlightening for me to realize that there is such a thing as the right size when it comes to the kind of discussion that we're having, the right size of groups. Are we good to move forward, everyone?
So yes, the best group size really is 3 when you have the best dialogue. If you have more people, some people tend to drop out. You have 2 persons, the dialogue, the interaction, just whatever dynamics for some reason might not work. Let's have another tool.
Here we go.
So, pharmaceutical company, they had a problem, a data problem. That they did employee surveys every year, and the results were the same every year. And not for some teams they were terrible. For some teams actually fantastic. But anyway, they were never changing. Nothing was happening about it. So we designed a process for everyone in the company, each employee in the company, to take part in actually reading the data and making an action plan. And it is a simple flow of questions based on the cycle of perception, which is a psychological concept. So can I have the first one? The first one is that the first, we actually gave the people, each employee, the employee survey results for their own team. For them to look at that, what are the key facts? What do they see here? The second, often these results are actually emotional. It's facts about your own team. So next we ask them that, how do you feel about the results? So this is an important, yes, feeling. This is an important question because the feeling is usually something inside our body. And we don't really know what is happening in our body, but when we talk about it, we can take control of it. So this just saying it that I'm feeling bad, I'm feeling angry, I'm feeling sad, I'm feeling happy. It actually helps you to realize that your feeling becomes data. The third thing is about the meaning is that what is it that I, not others, people often tend to externalize solutions for others. What should I do about the survey results? We want to get everyone involved, and we have a discussion with the group about this, and what are the things we should be doing, and finally we make an action plan. How we make an action plan, that is another slide. So with these simple questions that help people think, this is the cycle of perception is, by the way, is what happens in our head anyway, all the time. When there is, this is how we process things. There is something happens. There is a thunder out there. My feeling is I'm a little bit scared, but with the sudden sudden noise, the meaning is that I'm safely inside in here. Everything is fine. I'm with my friends, and the action is that I'll just continue and take it easy. So this is happening in our head. When we get lots of data, many presentations, it just goes too fast. So we use these questions for sense making for people, and also for group discussions. Can I have the next one?
Pepe, before we move forward, we're getting some excellent comments from Rutvij and Kumuda in the chat, which I would be really keen to get your take on. So Kumuda says, won't that delay decision making? Isn't everyone capable of, like taking this in a mature way already?
So my sample in here is actually we had the leaders go through the same process, but now we're talking about the employee surveys, and I think it's about the feeling in the team, in the company, in the organization. It cannot be changed by the leader alone. So it is actually responsibility for everyone. And I do believe, of course, there are some people are more capable of discussions than the others. They are more logical. This is a logical process, even though it asks for the emotions. I believe this can be done in different levels, and everybody should be involved if we talk about the topic called employee happiness or the employee surveys, if we talk about it. Now let's say that we have we also use this for quality data. We have the quality team go through the data, and we go through the same thing. Will it delay decision making? Yes, but then again, it will. I always talk about doing things, having a good talk to make things go faster in the end. You first go slowly, you have a good talk, you make sense, and when everything's clear, then you just go for it together. And I believe things happen fast. Of course, you don't do this with every single thing. If you're an expert responsible for something, you don't need everyone's opinions, and you don't do it. You do this only for questions where you need the people to get involved in making a difference.
And so this idea of creating buy-in is very central to the method, is what I'm hearing.
Yes. And and also there is a question about, is this effective for middle managers? We definitely, we work, actually we do this a lot in the middle level, like there are cultural differences. We actually do this in Finland with all levels of employees. We do this in the cleaning companies with the people actually responsible for cleaning the floors and cleaning the departments and whatever. So we actually use this in all the levels. Whether it's culturally appropriate, whether the people will be shocked if you do that in India, I don't know. But that's how we do in Finland.
I think that opens up a great opportunity to explore there, 100%. And I also want to qualify what you're saying with some data. There's a Dale Carnegie report that they've done globally with approximately 2,000 leaders and their teams. And they talked about how do you think your team is doing, right? So the people who are who are leading the team and the people who are within the team reporting into the boss. So the leaders, 73% of them across the world think that their teams are doing well. They're doing very good. So they have a good culture, they have good teamwork, they're doing it well. But when you look at the data of the teams, what do the teams think? It's quite interesting because it's 43% of the teams actually echo that. 43% of the teams so that, yeah, okay, we're doing well. And so this huge disconnect between what is leadership thinking and what is your team thinking is also critical to take into account here, because we all fall into this default position of, okay, I'm the boss. Here's what we're going to do. Now let's brainstorm about how we're going to do it. When actually, you know, that disconnect needs to be addressed first. And so I think that data is echoing what you're saying, that create a strong foundation first and then move into a space where you can move faster.
Yes. All right, just a couple of sample questions, and I have a few more tools to discuss.
Would you want to stay
here?
Still
take my tools. These are just a sample question. Let's get the next one.
Okay, perfect. Moving forward.
All right, then we get to one of my real favorite sense-making tools. And we use this for strategies, we use this for quality data, we do this for analyzing trends, and this is a sense-making tool. And yes, my sample is actually here. Quality data is difficult to talk about. My sample here, the story is, I'm going to talk about a team of a new organization that was actually built together from a couple of organizations, all organizations joining, and it was a technology production company, about 1,000 people. And they had a management team, and they realized that that the leadership cultures of all the teams, departments, they were not the same, and that was actually causing problems of thinking and between the leaders. So we have a management team talking together. Our topic is the leadership culture. And what I was doing there, I was just, yes, I was standing there on the side and saying that everybody's role today is to discuss, help discuss by writing down whatever you say. I try to do my best writing down using your words, putting it on under facts, concerns, key questions, solutions. So the topic was leadership culture. I had the management team was about 12 people. They were sitting all around, facing the flip chart. And I said, does anybody have an idea? And the first thing was interesting. Someone said that, what is culture. So I wrote down a key question, and then the people started actually explaining how they see culture, what are the facts, what are the concerns typically about the cultures, and then the next question, someone said that, hey, what is leadership? So the guy started talking about what is leadership. And after they had defined it, the leadership as a solution, then at some point, they started talking about what kind of leadership does our organization, what does our organization look like, what kind of leadership do we need? So we started having a really big discussion about, what is really happening in the organization. And it was really chaotic, it was new, there was lots of technology, and finally I took, after 1.5 hours or 2 hours, I took out a new flip chart and I asked the people, what kind of leadership culture should we have? And they said that we should have, yes, the customer focus. We should have our people empowerment. We should have ownership. We should have transparency. And we should actually appreciate diversity. We work in many different countries with many types of people. So we had started the discussion when nobody knew what is culture, what is leadership, and we actually ended up the discussion with the people clearly talking about what are the key values. We did continue after making solution, what does this look like in practice, and we did make an action plan. But this was the beginning and of a sense-making tool. So what we do often is we do strategies. We have everybody read the data. We bring different data. We might have different presentations, and then we start talking about what is our goal. Where do we want to go based on this data? And I just write down. The writing down things helps people keep focused. In meetings, people don't know that they are being heard, and they keep on repeating the same thing. They repeat, and repeat, and because they don't know they've been heard. When you write it down, people actually have it easier to go forward. Also, they can see everything. Our brains are small. When you can see everything in front of you, you are much more likely to be able to make decisions. So, Vandana, you think this was a little complicated stuff already?
I admit the first time that we talked about this, it wasn't a clear-cut thing, but as you've explained it, and also here in this session, it's become a very reliable tool for me. So I think this is incredibly valuable, and I'm 100%. I think this is an amazing tool. I hope that all of you find some value with this as well. Should we move to the next one, Pepe?
All right, the next one is a quick one. I just have to, all my drawings I just have to clear them. All right. It's a simple practice that we do. This is just 1 minute. When we finish, we always visualize all the actions, what, who, when, so that everybody in the workshop, in the meeting, will see what is going to happen, what the others are doing as well. So we put it on the wall. So this is what we did. And for instance, in the case of the employee surveys, the last question, what are you going to do to get the better results next time? So what is your individual action? We actually put all the actions on the roadmap. And we look at it, we talk about it, we evaluate it with our thumbs, for instance. We take a look at it. Just a simple practice. Everybody can use it and take it.
And what
so
I really...
that we're not...
Please finish. I'll add on after.
Yes, because many times in meetings we write down our own actions on our own piece of paper. Nobody actually knows what's going to happen. But when you put it on the wall, it can be evaluated. It's our meeting result, and you can take it to the next meeting and take it to the and actually talk about it. You know, what was done, what wasn't done, and why. All right, Vandana.
Yeah, what I was saying is when you really get into the nitty-gritty of the process in the room, the process of voting, which we've not touched upon fully here, allows you to streamline this in such a powerful way. Then you gain so much more clarity than a roundtable discussion. For me, that was really impactful. That is one thing that really stayed with me, and that I hope you know, everyone here gets the chance to experience with you at some point. So from the tools,
Yes,
does anyone have a
interesting.
favorite that you'd like to kind of lean on more, or one that resonated more with you? Maybe something that you're already using. Feel free to jump in the chat. Dynamic facilitation, wonderful. Arti, thank you for that. So Pepe, if we move to the people side of change, we had talked about how the process of change is something that's very, it requires a stop-start action to reassess as you go along. And that's also something that needs to be baked in, from what I understand.
Oh, okay. Yes. So the organization, they are slow to move forward, yes, and difficult to move forward, to change anything. You have your data, but the people are not ready to move based on the data. So typically, the leaders get the data, gather data, they make an analysis, and they make a decision, and they want to change. They go immediately to the number 2, they expect action. In some places, it actually works, especially if it's simple environment. Often when we talk about high-level, well-educated people, they have and complex processes, it is not that simple always. People actually typically would need to understand the changes better before they are ready to change. So quite often, as a facilitator, I'm actually. Can I still have the previous one?
Oh, my fault.
Yes. So quite often when we work with companies, there are change processes. People are not changing. And yes, the trends have changed, the customer behaviors have changed, but the organizations don't change. And the leaders agree that we're going to change, but the people are not doing anything. So many times we're called in. What we always do, this is actually, the process comes from my hero called Kurt Lewin, the father of social psychology. He says that you first have to get the people ready to change. You unfreeze them. Then you change, and finally you keep up the change. Typically, organizations never do these three stages well. One of them is well done, but the others are forgotten. Quite often we go to an organization, the change is going through, so we start from the beginning. Unfreezing means that people cannot change if they don't understand the change. They cannot change if they have emotional problems with the change. So quite often ask the people how they feel about the change. We don't want to change the feeling. We just accept it. I was already telling you that if people can talk about the emotions, it becomes data. You can deal with it. So it's not something burning inside you anymore. So unfreezing, we make sure people understand. we deal with the emotions. Now we ask them to make a change plan, to make a clear plan that can be the action roadmap. How are they going forward? And then third is we refreeze, and refreeze. We follow up the change. The refreezing, again, this is our three-step model. It's always, everything is our three-step model. It's about refreezing is what's stopping us from changing, what are we going to do about it, what is the action plan. So just to go in the beginning, just a quick one to give you a little bit idea of tools about unfreezing. People tend to give too much data, but now let's talk about what kind of data you should be giving if you want a change to happen. So now, Vandana, I'm going to have 2 minutes and I'm going to actually finish talking about the tools. If I can have the next.
Okay, here we go.
All right. So this comes from a change story. This comes from a guy, a leadership guru called Beckhart from the 80s. He said that there is no change if you don't have 3 key elements, which is why, the reason, where, and what is actually expected from the people. So I was working with a leader with a new strategy, and he's wanted to make a presentation of the new strategy for his people. And he said he has 70 slides. And I said, well, that's quite a lot. Do you have the reason why we need to change? And he said that, well, kind of, but not really. So he was not actually saying that why it is urgent, why is it really important? Do you have the where, what we really want to achieve with this change? What's the benefit for all of us? And he said, well, it's kind of in there, but not really. Do you have there what people are expected to do? And he said that, well, I do have a lot of solutions that we need to do as an organization, but I'm not really telling clearly to the people what they should be, what are the first steps they should be doing now. So we often communicate the changes, we often communicate the data, we go back to the data. We often communicate the data, but we don't actually, which is often the why. But we do not tell the people where do we want to go and what do we expect from them. So we are often missing the elements to create the change based on the data. The change story is just a framework. When we have what we did with my leader that I was just telling you, can I have the next one? We actually, if there are different levels of organizations, we actually had different divisions. We had different levels of the organization teams all create the change story. What does the change mean for us? Why do we change? And what are the first steps? We actually did it on all different levels at the same time, so that the change does not only start from here, but it's going simultaneously to all the levels. All right, my dear friends, I just wanted to show a couple of tools, couple of ways of working. I hope there was something interesting that was for you as well. Where do I learn facilitation skills is the next one. Yes, Vandana.
Yeah, so Pepe and I have discussed, and we would really like to offer something specific to the GHRC audience. If there is any interest, or if this is something where you find value that you'd like to build your skill set, we'd love to have that conversation with you. So what I'll do is I'll showcase some of the things that Grape People offer. And Pepe, maybe you can really quickly talk us through maybe the first segment. We're very excited to be able to
introduced for the very first time in India, either this Associate Certified Facilitator certificate. It's evaluated by FINEC. Maybe you can tell us, Pepe, what the impact of that is. And what I really want to convey to everyone is, having gone through this certification myself, what Pepe has covered is the tip of the iceberg. Being in the room and having that conversation, being able to develop that skill set is a game changer. If you're dealing with organizations, with teams, if you're dealing with any kind of assignment or project, from strategy to organizational design, this method. Oh, I'm seeing Arti's comment. We'll get to that, Arti. The method that Pepe has talked about, the tools that Pepe has talked about, they fit into a much wider, much more structured framework that we'd love to be able to share with everyone. So we'll also be introducing in September a live session. Pepe is going to be visiting Bangalore. I have managed to convince him to to make the trip, and so he will be gracing us in September. And if there is any value that you see for this for your audiences, we'd very much like to be able to to invite you to attend and explore exactly what this can do for you in terms of leveling up. In India in general is in this phase where there's so much more happening, and it's happening so fast. This really is something, a skill set that can help you match that pace. And that I speak in a very biased way from my own experience here. So I'll definitely be sharing my contact details, and I'll invite you. I'm a member of GHRC, so you can also reach out to me via the network and the wonderful platform of GHRC. So I'd really like that. Let me know what has resonated with you and what you'd like to see going forward and along those themes. And Pepe, is there anything specific that you want to touch upon about the Associate Certified Facilitator certification by Grape People, to answer Arti's comment?
No, well, very, very simply that. All right.
Arti, can you hear us properly?
All right.
Yes.
Very simple.
Okay, shoot, shoot, Pepe.
All right, so very, very simply, we do facilitation training all over the world in organizations with, and we are in organizations where they deal with lots of data, with sales making. We have a very practical training that actually helps you do lots of organizational development, working with groups. Practical stuff, and the certification, you come and show that you plan actually a good workshop, and which is the most critical, the skill. So why are we called Grape Facilitator? I think Grape Bunch is we create alignment in the organizations, and that's, I think Grape is a great symbol for that. The Grape Bunch looks like, and it's systems thinking, it's aligned, it's a great organization, it's a good team. And when it gets old, it becomes wine.
That's a beautiful analogy.
Which is also a nice thing.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
So I'm sharing some of the data here that you might be interested in if you'd like to explore this further. So the certification details and the specific promo code generated for the GHRC audience is here. And obviously, we're open to having more of these conversations if you feel like there's more that you'd like to touch upon that we've not really got into fully here. So you can let me know on the chat, or we can connect one-on-one and have that conversation. What I really liked about what you were sharing, Pepe, specifically about change, is that the part of the science of building, of communicating around change is also that this framework allows us to step away from the biases that we have, the assumptions that we make of, I think this is the right decision, right? When you do it at different levels, what you're translating, people's experiences in the company, you're translating that into data that can be used as a competitive advantage, right? How do people feel about change? Allows people to get fully involved, right? People will support a world that they help to create, is the saying as we often hear it. So I'd also love to hear from everyone about what are the things that resonated with you and how this might help you do things differently. Quick show of hands or quick emojis about how we're feeling in the room. Maybe on a scale of 1 to 10. 10 being very energized and excited, and 1 being, I really don't see what was the point of this. Feel free to use the chat. Feel free to jump in. Arti, thank you so much. 8. Nisha, I'm getting pulled into Weekend Madness. I also have to express how grateful I am for everyone for offering us this this time of your Saturday morning. It's very valuable time. So thank you for making this time for us. Thank you, Kumada and Shefali, for these insights. Thank you, Ramesh. And also, if there's anything that we actually, thank you, 10 on 10. Good job. Good job, Pepe. I only got in your way there. But if there is anything that could translate these 7s or 8s or 9s into a 10, also please let me know what that could be, because I'm there, but Pepe is an actual magician, so I would love to be able to test him, throw a challenge his way that he can really flex for us in September. Thank you, Vyas, appreciate it. Any one of you who would like to have a one-on-one conversation with me after this session, please put your name in the chat or send me a personal message in the chat before you log out of this session so that I know to get in touch. You can leave your contact details as well if you wish, so that I can follow up with you. And I'd love to get your insight. All of you are working in spaces where the conversation is around the future of work. What is the role of HR? What is the role of talent? And this is really one way to exponentially create impact, because this is so many applications as we saw earlier. So with that, Pepe, is there anything that you want to add for our participants before we kind of officially maybe hand off to Ramesh and wind up?
I just want to say thank you, that you are really great. Thank you for coming and spending your Saturdays with us. That's a really big honor, and I hope to see you in the training. Promise that it will be interesting and useful.
Yes, and to address your point, Shefali and Kumada, one of the conversations we had was, how many use cases can you really introduce? Again, if we skip the step about the tools and what is the purpose of the different tools, I think we tried to focus our limited time on this today, but 100% hear you on being able to showcase this with use cases that will definitely be incorporated in the training we'll be doing in September. Okay, so Ramesh, can I hand over back to you?
Yeah, so first of all, Pepe and Vandana, thank you so much for this wonderful session. And we look forward to further collaborations and also look forward to your September training.
Yeah,
and we would be more than happy to facilitate or help you guys in whichever way you want to promote this program. And I'm sure there will be a lot of takers for this.
No, absolutely. I really value GHRC being proactive in allowing us this platform and helping us, reach this audience with the experience that you all have. So it's very mutual, and love to take that offline. Thank you so much, Ramesh.
So over to Akshay for the wrap up and whatever the word of thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Vandana and PP. It was incredible session. We were able to learn a lot of great insights from your years of experience, right? And it was amazing to see everyone was able to get great insights about how to take better data-driven decisions and how to go about and how to make a huge impact, right? And I highly recommend everyone who is especially watching from Bangalore, do check out the Associate Certification Facilitator. It's happening on September, and you can also connect with Vandana, right? I think Vandana shared her LinkedIn profile as well. Maybe Vandana, you can drop your LinkedIn. Anybody have any questions, they can reach out to you directly as well.
Yeah, I will.
And for all the people who are not yet a part of like GHRC, do message us like if you have any questions. We keep on organizing like lot of events like every single week, online as well like offline. Even next month we are organizing an event of like Sri Vidya Nagaraju 7-star leadership, which is happening in Bangalore 18th July, which she'll be sharing from the ancient wisdom, right? Like how we can use it in our day-to-day life, right? And with that being said, once again, thank you, Vandana, thank you, PP, thank you, Ramesh sir, for creating this opportunity, and thank you everyone for joining. Have a phenomenal weekend. Bye bye, everyone. See you all.
Thank you. Have a good weekend.
Yeah. Bye. See you all.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah.